Welcome back to the Hub, and it's good news for United supporters. Manuel Ugarte has pretty much it's all but a done deal for his switch from PSG to United, and we welcome that good news because we could not see our midfield department defensively doing the job for this particular season. So it's good to get that upgrade in defensive midfield. Casemiro just unfortunately doesn't have the legs anymore, and he's past his best. So that's really good news for all fans and supporters. So what does Ugarte really offer United? Well, first of all, 23 years old, so it's a continued move in that direction from Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. Getting younger players in. He's obviously an Uruguayan international playing for PSG, which is his former team as he's moving to United now. So we'll take a look in terms of how he's performed and what his strengths and weaknesses are, and see what he can do for United in this upcoming season and in the future. So here's a brief look at the history of the player. Specifically, he spent a couple seasons at Sporting CP in the Premier League, and then he made the move to Paris Saint Germain. In fact, he signed for Sporting CP in August 2021, on a 5-year contract, and then after a couple seasons in July 23, he signed a 5-year deal at PSG. Now, his first few months at PSG was very impressive. In fact, the football writers in France had described him as a revelation, in terms of his performances. Unfortunately, the manager, Luis Enrique, didn't really consider him part of the style of football that he wanted, and he basically lost his starting status and didn't get as much playing time as I'm sure he would have wanted. And that's how we come to this situation where he wanted to move to Man United, and he did. So it's good news for us. As I mentioned previously, the French football writers had described Ugarte as a revelation. And you can see from here, in terms of some of the stats, as a defensive midfielder, and this is, as it says, in comparison to other defensive midfielders in the top 5 leagues, you can see he is in the highest percentiles in terms of tackles, interceptions, and even pass completion. So he does have his strengths in terms of the defensive side of the ball. I would say that uh, having watched Casemiro in terms of his distribution and passing forward from transitioning from defense to attack, he does do well in that department. As far as Ugarte, it remains to be seen in terms of how effective he is getting the ball forward. But we're hoping that a partnership will develop between him and Kobe Mainu, because those are the two who will be responsible. Now, with Ugarte as a defensive midfielder, basically in front of the back four, it gives a little more freedom to Kobe to move forward and be more in the attacking scheme of things. And that would be good in terms of the attack part of United's game, because we have um, been doing very poorly in terms of shots, attempted shots, shots on target, chances created, and obviously the number of goals. And we do remember that last season we were in a negative balance in terms of goals conceded and goals scored. So we're hoping that the pairing of Ugarte and Mainu will be something positive going forward. And just by way of wrapping things up, this is a comparison between Casemiro and Ugarte. Um, just a little bit of interesting stats to look at. The key thing, though, is obviously Casemiro is 32, and on the winding down his career, whereas Ugarte is 23 and basically still going to get to his prime in a few years. Uh, so the stats itself, they're comparable, and obviously this is from last season, and Casemiro had his best season, his first season at United, where he really made a big difference. And this past season was pretty much a subpar in terms of his performances and having some injury issues. So, just by way of something interesting to look at. But again, the key is the age difference, and it's still left to be seen if Casemiro will be at the club with the transfer window winding down. It seems he's likely to stay at United, which means that Ten Hag will have to be transitioning from Casemiro as the starter to Manuel Ugarte. And perhaps if Casemiro doesn't get the kind of minutes that he wants, something could happen in the January transfer window. But it wasn't a busy window for him in terms of offers coming in, and I think that United would have loved to sell him and have those funds available, but it didn't happen. And so we'll see what happens going on. But let's see how both of them, how Ten Hag uses these players. One with a lot of experience, and the other still developing his game, but having a lot of strong points that definitely is an upgrade for United. So thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe and like and share the content on this channel. We really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.